It's a Tuesday here, and I'm on the 253 bus in Saint-Denis. I'm on my way to La Plaine Saint-Denis near the Stade de France. Now down here is really the best place in Paris to get chocolate. It's called Lannois, and they're third generation chocolatiers. There, you see, Lannois. They're closed today. Okay. You have to get used to it. You know, a lot of people here close for one day a week, and it's hard to remember what day of the week it might be. You will get really the best chocolate and pastry there. Superior, perhaps, to the pastry of Lannois in Paris. And I would say about 75% cheaper. And they do a great pound cake, and they do make a little bit of bread. They do a few hors d'oeuvres. They make their own candy, and the best pastry in all of France is the Légion d'honneur. And I regret very much that Bruce Thorpe wasn't able to have one here. Now this is the Museum of Saint-Denis. It's a very old convent. And there's a big chapel here, which you'll be able to see in a moment, done by Louise de France, who was the daughter of Louis XV, I believe, and she was a nun here in Saint-Denis. She had a lot of money, so she built this big, beautiful chapel, and they have a lot of modern art shows in there that you can actually just walk into and not pay to see. And the prices are very reasonable at the museum here. They have the best collection of stuff about the Commune de Saint-Denis, de Paris, which was the third French Revolution. There were actually three French revolutions. There was one in the late 18th century that everybody knows about, and there were two more in the 19th century. And Bruce came here on one of the first Sundays of the month during his visit, and it's really great because a lot of the museums and stuff let you in for free. He also saw the Necropole of the Kings at the Basilica of Saint-Denis. He went down into the crypt. I'm not sure what he thought about all of it, but he didn't have to pay. And it's right here. We are just north of Paris. There's the Stade de France. I don't know if you can see that. There are a lot of really cool little restaurants around where I just was a few minutes ago. Down here, you know, a lot of these are just kind of sandwich shops, and they're kind of crappy, frankly. But there are some really good Algerians here. I had for €2.50 an entire stuffed artichoke with all the bread I wanted. And I have a video up about that called Artichaut. Remember, there are fewer and fewer really good pastry shops here in France, and you know, these mass-produced things are just really gross. You know, you don't need to eat that. You'll do better off with your own pastry back at home, wherever you come from. But when you find a good pastry shop, actually we don't eat sweets every day here in France. We certainly don't have, you know, coffee cake or anything with breakfast with our coffee. We do have biscuits though with butter and jam, and Bruce liked that a lot. And we have yogurt for breakfast. I cook oatmeal sometimes, but there's also just bread and butter with jam on it, and they have coffee in big bowls frequently. See, he said, La Porte, s'il vous plaît, monsieur. You must always address the drivers here very politely and very correctly. We make a big effort here because the French are very hot-blooded. This is a Mediterranean country, and tempers get out of hand very quickly. This is the Porte de Paris bus terminal. It doesn't look like a terminal because it's open air, but it is. And again, you have the number 13 metro here. When I call it the blue train, I mean that it splits at La Fourche in Paris. And the yellow train, there's a little yellow sign on the side, goes up to Agnières-Gennevilliers. And the blue train has a little blue sign on the side, and that's for Saint-Denis Université. And where I live is the second last stop at Basilique. Now, La Plaine Saint-Denis was the world's first industrial zone. It was very heavily bombed and selectively bombed during the Second World War. It's very toxic. When they put the stadium up here, they couldn't get grass to grow in it. I kid you not. And this is part of the canal network here that Napoleon put in. This is the Canal Saint-Denis. There's a small but rather charming canal district here in Saint-Denis. And I showed it to Bruce, and he really liked it. There's the canal, you see. It's really fixed up a lot. It's much more upscale than it ever was. Very typical gray Paris day. Very pretty fall colors. You have to wear a scarf and a raincoat, and I have a beret. Berets are not very Parisian. They're more for the country, for the peasants. But you need to dress in layers here. All right.